Martin from
Yes.
the Transboundary Biosphere Reserve in Uganda. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, perfect.
Now, I am going to present the concept of Biosphere Reserve. It has come. Yeah, there you go. You can see me?
Yes, now we can see you. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. My name is Martin. I have been working in this project in this program for the last 15 years. I'm a technical specialist in the Man and Biosphere program, which is a program in UNESCO. Now, the presentation I'm going to give is on transboundary biosphere management, but I'm going to start with the biosphere concept so that people can be able to appreciate. And at the end of this International Week, one of the resolutions that I would love to see is the Wilderness Society adopting the concept of biosphere reserve management so that issues that have been raised by Valdo can be handled adequately, because we cannot stop population growth and encroachment onto our wilderness all over the world. So therefore, it takes me to the biosphere reserve concept. Biosphere reserves have three functions which are interconnected: the function of conservation, the function of development, and logistical support. Now, these functions are achieved through a zonation program where you have a core area, a buffer, and a transition zone. So these concepts allow the community to coexist with the ecosystem. And this has been tested in the UNESCO program because we, for example, have 79 biosphere reserves in 29 countries in Africa. We have 701 biosphere reserves in 124 countries in the world. It shows that this is a scientific principle that has been tested and has been able to work. So at the end of this meeting, one of the resolutions that I would love to see is for the team and the panelists to come up with a concept that will try to emulate the similar principle that the biosphere reserve concept is undertaking. So there I go to the case study. The case study, we are going to look at Mount Elgon Biosphere Reserve. Now, what is a transboundary biosphere reserve? A transboundary biosphere reserve is a reserve that is interconnected between two countries. Now, you'll discover that if you have an ecosystem and you have elephants in the ecosystem, the elephants will not be able to know where the boundary lies. So you have a lot of problems. The best way to manage such an ecosystem is to create a transboundary biosphere reserve. Now we are looking at Mount Elgon. Mount Elgon Biosphere Reserve was first gazetted as a forest reserve in 1938. It became a national park in 1993, and it was declared a biosphere reserve in 2005. And the biosphere reserve principle, the process which we are still undertaking, because it has not yet been nominated, but we are in the final stages where ministers from both Uganda and Kenya are just going to meet. We have finalized the MOU processes. The technical work is finished. We are just going to arrange meetings for people, for the member states to just sign, and then we begin managing the system as a transboundary biosphere reserve. So it is a protected area that lies, which is about 4,341 meters above sea level, and it has one of the largest craters which stretches with a diameter of about 8 kilometers. Yes, it's a protected area. It has the Ugandan side has about 314,000 hectares, and the Kenyan side has about 236,000 hectares in total. I am showing you now. This is a picture of the zonation of the biosphere reserve on the Ugandan side. The dark green is the core zone. The lighter one, which is in a lighter green, is the buffer, which protects the core. Then the lightest is a transition. The reason we have this, we are trying to protect the core by buffering it and then creating a transition zone that can be able to protect the ecosystem, like we are going to see. The importance of the ecosystem is this is a major catchment area for, it provides water to over 1 million people, and it is supporting both people in Uganda and Kenya. The importance of the ecosystem, it is a watershed, it provides water for both rivers Choga and Turkana. River Choga is in Uganda, Turkana is in Kenya. It has cultural values, it has biodiversity values, it is a source of income through tourism activities. We also get traditional medicine, we have honey, we have bamboo from this ecosystem. The overall goal for the Transboundary Biosphere Reserve was to harmonize planning for the management of the entire ecosystem for the sustainable conservation of resources. Resources like you see, we have buffaloes there, we have birds. So in order to manage this ecosystem without hindrance because of the boundaries requiring a visa to change and go here, it is thought that it will be managed better if it is made a Transboundary Biosphere Reserve. The objectives of this Transboundary Biosphere Reserve is to create a sustainable conservation of the landscape so that the ecosystem is sustainably managed. It is restored. I'm going to show you pictures where population pressure, we have cut down the trees and it has created devastating effects. We want to foster economic development, both human, to support research and be able to have effective management. How do we justify Transboundary Biosphere Reserve? We need to look at the development in a broader section, looking at the community that lives there and seeing how will this collaboration be able to be undertaken with improved benefits, both for the nation and for the people, the individuals. The benefits, we have economic, it's going to provide employment, regional cooperation. Now we have the East African community that has been supporting this program. We are going to have sustainable natural resource management. We have social, we have renewed cultural ties. You realize that the Biosphere Reserve, although it was created, people both on Kenya side have relatives. So you can't say that I cannot go to my relatives because of the boundary. So we think that this will be better managed if we create a trial. The principles that have been adopted, we have had stakeholder meetings between Kenya, the Kenyan team and the Ugandan team. And under which principles are we trying to look at? We want to look at stakeholder involvement, looking at democracy, the involvement of people at inception in the planning of this transboundary management. We want to look at sustainable use of the available human, financial, and technical resources. You will see that some of the countries are more developed in one area as opposed to others. But we want to share the benefit accruing from the Kenyan side and the benefit accruing from the Ugandan side, be harmonized together so that we have increased benefits. Administration and management. We think that it is important that the authorities, the Kenya Wildlife Service that is on the Kenyan side and the Uganda Wildlife Service, should be able to continuously manage the protected areas on both sides. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Therefore, we created a steering committee to oversee the joint planning and management, maintaining the community area institutions so that we don't want to reinvent a wheel that will create a scenario that will create frictions. We are looking at something that is going to be feasible. We are reevaluating the boundaries on both sides so that we can be able to see. And to do this, we have created a structure. The structure is a theme structure to ease administration. You have a transboundary steering committee, and then these other stakeholders like the National Forestry Authority, the Kenya Wildlife Service, Uganda Wildlife Authority are all going to be part of the management structure so that we improve the management and taking decisions in the Transboundary Biosphere Reserve. So the Transboundary Biosphere Reserve Committee is composed of the directors of Uganda Wildlife Authority and Kenya Wildlife Service. These are going to be chairing the committees, and the chairmanship is going to be on a rotational basis. For example, if this year it is Uganda chairing, it will have a term of 2 years, and then after the 2 years, the Kenyan director will take over the chairmanship. Then the committee members will be the chief wardens for both Uganda and Kenya, and then the county councils and representatives of the forestry authorities and communities. These are going to be part of the composition of the technical. We have proposed program, very important. The most important output of the Biosphere Reserve is training, where we are going to have capacity building of staff to effectively implement sustainable resource management. We're going to have training in the form of short courses, on-job training, and joint training. We're going to have research and monitoring. We're going to have community participation. programs are going to continue to exist. Not that they are not there. There's community involvement in the design of these programs so that we can have sustainable resource utilization in these protected areas. All these initiatives are being put in place so that we can have an ecosystem that is protected. Regional cooperation, we have had challenges, but the transboundary biosphere management has improved the cooperation so that we have the promotion of sustainable natural resources managed better. Regional tourism, for example, if you get a visa for Kenya or for tourism in Kenya, you can now cross over to the Ugandan side without processing a new visa, and there you save on visa fees. So this will help improve and promote the ecosystem in a marketing approach so that the revenues and movement of person is easy, so that then the improvement will also improve. Yeah, we have partnerships. We are going to have partnerships in government, we have NGOs, and we have proposals which we have submitted to so many partnerships. We have private sector. It is important. You cannot do most of these things without involving the private sector, because the private sector are the key stakeholders. They are the people who own the hotels. They are the people who own the tour companies. So you need to involve all stakeholders. And a panel has been composed of senior management from both countries to review and vet some of the proposals from the partners. All these things are some of the things that we think should be able to sustain this program in a better manner. We are going to identify key role players who are going to be part of the steering committee. Now, what are the challenges we have experienced? Land conflict has been one of, because of the population pressure. Now, this is an area that is very fertile. And in the Africa, areas that are very fertile usually attract very high populations. So we have a problem of encroachment. And the encroachment has created a problem where the boundary lines for the biosphere reserve have been extended. In 1983, they were extended. In 93, they were extended. In 2004, they were extended. So this is the challenge that we are facing. And what has this challenge created? It has created a picture which I'm going to show you. We used to have a waterfall. You see this picture has a vertical. At the V below was water falling down. But the waterfalls have dried up due to encroachment. The population has cut down all the trees and there's no more water is flowing onto the falls. The falls have dried up. Now, this is the reason we are saying, can we be able to create a transboundary biosphere reserve so that if the Kenyans are cutting more trees or the Ugandans cutting more trees, we can encourage them to plant trees and manage the ecosystem better so that we can be able to control climatic change disasters that are taking place. We have natural disasters. For example, we had the landslides. We had a landslide in Bududa in 2010 that killed about 80 people and it displaced over 300 families in the research. So this is, there are visible cracks in areas like Bumbu. I'm going to show you a picture of the landslide. You see this landslide was in Bududa where about 80 families were covered. All this maram came from the mountain and landed onto the what? Onto the ecosystem. So we are saying, can we be able to manage the ecosystem to avoid such disasters? Now, in conclusion, we are saying ecological values of Mount Elgon National Park are immense, especially the water value. This value is, however, threatened by the pressure on the land and resultant encroachment. The degradation of this fragile ecosystem resulting into natural disasters. Hence, we need collaborative approaches. Like approaches, we need to borrow leaves like from the Wilderness Society. We need to look at all the best approaches to better manage this ecosystem. Therefore, the transboundary collaboration and MOU is going to formalize all these informal collaborations to be able to come up with a program that will reduce the climatic disasters that are happening in the ecosystem currently, so that we can then be able to have a very good program. I therefore, let us work together to save Mount Elgon, and I thank you very much. I welcome any questions. You can send questions. I think I'm in good time, and I have 10 minutes according to my time. I welcome questions, and I can be able to react to one or two. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Very interesting presentation. And you're right, you have 10 minutes for questions.
Yes.
So I encourage everyone now to ask questions in the Q&A or raise your hand if you want to ask them personally. We have one question in the Q&A already. What is the effect of...
Yes.
what is the effect of the current situation, so COVID-19, on the policy in the Transboundary Biosphere Reserve?
Oh, okay, very good. This is a very good question. The COVID-19 has been the mother of disasters. Why? You know, during the COVID-19, when it started, all the areas we were under lockdown. What was the lockdown? We never got any tourists. Our airport was closed. We never got in any tourists. Now, the people, the livelihoods of the majority of people was dependent on this ecosystem. Through the ecotourism, the hotels were empty. Members of staff that were working in the hotels were laid off. The tour companies packed their cars. So the COVID-19 has really been a big disaster. And it has been something that is a challenge, but we are managing. We hope that in the next 3 or 4 months, a vaccine would come up, but we have started allowing visitors with standard operating procedures to provide protection and to start to be able to protect and allow the ecosystem to exist. Thank you. There's another question from Timothy. In the core zone, what activities are allowed? Now, yes, in the core zone, is there a potential for wilderness to develop and thrive there? Yes, now this is the reason. Let me answer. In the core zone, now this is a principle we think that the wilderness society should adopt, because in the core zone, there are certain activities that are allowed. For example, you have the bamboo. The bamboo is used by the locals to get a source. So by controlling the activities in the core zone, what do we say? We say when you're removing the leaves on the bamboo, remove very little so that you allow the tree to grow, so that you'll then be able to come back and fetch this source that is dear to you. So this is the potential that we think that the Wilderness Society of Europe should develop, so that instead of stopping, Baldo was saying, no hunting, no logging, no minerals. In actual reality, you cannot stop the community from hunting or logging. When you go to sleep, the community will come. So what is the best strategy? The best strategy is to sit with these people and say, this ecosystem is there and it will benefit you more if you protect the core zone by using sustainable means of removing maybe the younger trees, or planting instead of even planting more trees, so that when you come back, you'll be able to find more trees. But if you say no logging, no hunting, I don't think you can be able to win. As the population grows, the pressure on this wilderness ecosystem is going to grow. And the best way to manage it is by creating a system, a biosphere reserve system, that will be able to incorporate the community in the administration of the wilderness. Otherwise, I think that the wilderness needs to develop and thrive in the similar principle of biosphere reserves. I can give another example, is that our national parks were no-go areas, but you can be able to find that ever since we adopted we got better management. The conflicts reduced because we sit with the communities, and we can be able to do what? To work with the communities and have better outputs. Any other question? I see a question coming up, but.
We have a question in the chat. What kind of management measures are allowed in the core zone and in the buffer zone? So to elaborate a bit on the zonation system.
Now, what kind of measures that are allowed in the core zone? Now, in the core zone, these are you are conserving biological diversity and monitoring minimal disturbance of the core system. You are monitoring, because you can then be able to see what is happening. But when you block it off, you'll not be able to monitor, so that you undertake non-destructive research. Remember, research is taking place in some of these core zones, and other low impact uses such as education. Education can be undertaken in the core zone. You don't say no. In addition to conservation function, the core areas contribute a large ecosystem services in terms of development. For example, carbon stratification, soil stabilization. You will be able to have supply of clean water and air. So these are activities that will continue in the core area, providing employment, that will complement the conservation goals and improve on the environmental education, research, and environmental rehabilitation. So you see, as much as it is a core zone, it is not a no-go area. It is an area where people can go and look at the core area, conserving it for biodiversity. Yes, I see another one. What are the... Yes, now we have yes, we have, you know, we have animals in the biosphere reserve. We have buffaloes, we have elephants. Now there's a big problem of poaching. Now, why do we want a transboundary biosphere reserve? Let me. Yes, we have poaching. For example, how will the transboundary biosphere reserve concept reduce on poaching of elephants? You know very well that people poach elephants to get their tusks so that they take them over to China and then sell them. So we are saying that when a poacher comes from Kenya and runs into Uganda and Uganda's jurisdiction does not catch him, he will have run away with the materials he has poached, and then that will be a disadvantage to the ecosystem. We are saying if we create a transboundary biosphere reserve, the poaching will reduce because the ecosystem is going to be managed as a single unit, and therefore if poachers are in Kenya and running into Uganda, the Ugandan team will be working together with the Kenyan team to be able to hunt down some of these poachers to be able to manage the ecosystem better. We have mountain climbing, we have bicycle tracking. We have introduced bicycle tracking. Tourists come from abroad, hire their bikes and do bicycle. We have mountain climbing. I told you it is over 4,000 feet above sea level. There are a number of activities that are going on in the biosphere reserve. There is training. We have training. We have university students who come and do a lot of research work in the ecosystem. So you have a lot of things that are really happening. And I think it is important that we pray that the Wilderness Society, we want to thank people like Max, who have been very instrumental. We met Max in one of the meetings, but these people have been supportive to us, and it is important that we keep on sharing, especially in this new norm, so that we can be able to share experiences, to be able to learn from each other the good things, so that we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but pick the good concepts from wilderness, and the wilderness can also pick the good concepts from the biosphere reserve concepts, and then I think that will be able to improve the destruction and reduce the climatic change problems that we currently experience. Thank you. Is there any other question? Any other?
Okay, it looks like you have answered all the questions, Martin.
Okay,
thank you very much. It really was a very, very interesting insight in your work in Uganda and Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope all questions were answered. If not, can people reach out to you?
Yes, people can reach out to me. You share my email address in case of any, and I'm going to be attending throughout the week. I'll be sharing. I've not been active because I didn't want to decide to spoil the network, and I was preserving my network for the actual presentation so that we don't have any problem. But please feel free to share my email address if there are any questions. I'm going to be in attendance throughout the week. So I think that we should be able to have a rich experience by the end of the week. And I thank you very much.